Welcome back. Now, as is true in almost every community in the United States, but especially true in the African American community, there are a shortage of two-parent households. And usually the mother is left to carry the burden of the household alone. So now we've heard a lot of rhetoric about how men feel in the community, why they feel that this is a phenomenon that's on the increase. But what about the point of view of the ladies, of the women? So this next video that we're going to look into, we're going to dissect it piece by piece. We're going to discuss it, but it's the point of view of the ladies. So let's get into the video and see what we can find out.
The men in my life, as far as my father, even though he's deceased now, but when he was living, to my uncles, to my own brothers, to cousins, to any male that is in my family. Do they take care of their kids? Yes. Every single last one, they take care of their kids. Now, if you want to get to my own personal life, my son's father, then if you want to call a check every month, taking care of your kids, then yes, he's taking care of his kids. But if you want to call it spending time and caring and loving and nurturing and teaching them how to be a man, any of that kind of stuff, then no, he's not taking care of his kids. My son is 16 years old, and from day one, I've been taking care of him by myself. I brought someone into the world where I am responsible for him. I am responsible for his upbringing. I'm responsible for being a strength. You know, I'm in a position that God didn't even intend for me to be in. I mean, yes, a mother, but not a father. And I'm not even going to talk about the time.
Okay, so I wanted to pause at this particular point in the video. Now, it's interesting that the lady that's speaking there, from her point of view, she says that God never meant for her to be in this position. He never meant for her to be a mother and a father. And I have to be honest, I have to take issue with that. I really do. Because in this instance, she makes no reference at all whatsoever to marriage. She doesn't say anything about whether or not the two were married before they conceived their son. And I know you're wondering, well, what does that have to do with anything? Well, see, if we do things in the order in which we're supposed to, not from a biblical standpoint and not from a religious standpoint, but just from a logical standpoint, and we do things in order, then the results usually, of course, there's some exceptions to every situation and every rule, but the results usually turn out to be in our favor. Let me give you an example of what I mean. In choosing an individual to make someone with, to have a child with, to conceive, it would have been a good thing for her to require that this person be her husband. And not only that, but that he had already produced an environment that would be conducive to raising a family. Does this man have a place for you all to stay? Does he have steady employment? The feelings that he have for you, have you verified that these are not attached only to sex? Have y'all forged a strong relationship together? See, all of these things have to be taken into consideration. I think when you do things out of order, then this is what you're left with. You're left with confusion. You're left with confusion. Not only that, the difficulties that arise because you didn't do things in order falls upon innocent individuals. Now, this child, Malik, as she mentioned, is looking for his father. He wants his father to be there. But now, even in this situation, you probably know my stance. I'm not one who is for abortion. That's not anything that I would have anything to do with. I'm strongly against it. But in this particular instance, I would have to ask, really, was this child something that they both wanted? Or was it a situation where she informed the man that she was having a child and she proceeded to have the child? She just went ahead and had it. See, that's why I say things are out of order. If you choose not to do things in order, then the result is always going to be chaos, difficulty, not just for you, but for the people around you. Let's get back into it.
Times that Malik will say, "Where's my dad? Where's my dad, Mom? Why isn't my dad here, Mom?" We're not even gonna get into all the times that he did that. We're not even gonna touch on that because we really are staying here all day. I won't do none of my clients today. So, Malik, he's old enough to know. I never ever said anything bad about his dad. I never said one bad word about his dad. I answered the questions, yeah.
What did you tell him?
If he say, "Where's my dad?" Your dad's in California. This depends on the age. Every year he gets a little older, I'm able to maybe say a little bit more, but without bashing his dad. Because I don't ever want his opinion of his dad to be something I said. It's going to be something he already know because he's an intelligent young man. So the father opened the door. Malik asked for his dad. He said his dad wasn't, he asked by name, his dad wasn't there. So the dad said, "Well, I'm senior," because they have the same name. So he's the senior. He said, "Well, I'm senior. And I'm your grandfather." And this man never reached out from the door seals, holding the door seals of the door, never reached out and embraced his grandson.
So I would specifically have to speak on my children's father, and we are still together. I would say to the best of his ability, no. He could be more financially supportive and much more emotionally supportive with our son. So, and when I say that, for me, the emotional support would be more important. His father and him butt heads quite a bit, and very reluctant to show any emotion towards that. It's a kind of brush off or whatever. So do I think that he does his best? No, I don't.
Do you think maybe he's trying to build a young man?
That would be my hope, but I don't see it that way. Because he's not setting a good example as far as financial responsibility goes.
Okay.
So if that was the case, then show him how to be a man and take care of his family and do the right thing.
Okay.
And I don't see that part.
All right.
I work, he doesn't work. Now, having said that, does he take care of the kids when I'm at work? Yeah. Does he he feeds them, he clothes them, he does their laundry, he does what he's supposed to do. But beyond the bareness, the normal everyday stuff that I do on top of working, that to me that's not a real big feat. That is what you're supposed to do.
Growing up.
Okay, let's pause again right there. And I know I'm pausing it quite a bit, but what I wanted to do was I wanted to take this opportunity to talk about what she just said, right? Now she doesn't believe that the man that she's with, the father of her children, she doesn't believe that he's doing everything that he could possibly do. She doesn't believe that. She doesn't believe that he's putting forth the kind of effort that she's putting forth. Now remember, this is from the lady's point of view, but I must interject at this point because an individual on average will continue to do whatever they are allowed to do. So what do I mean by that? Whoever this gentleman is who's sitting at home while she's at work, is she allowing that? has she made it a requisite that this man go out and get gainful employment so that he can take care of his family? Or is this situation one that she's okay with? Because now, looking at her expression and what she said while she's sitting there in the chair, getting herself prepared for the rest of the day, it would behoove us to think about in totality what she's saying. Now, she made little of the fact that the man is at home and he's taking care of the children, right? He might not have gainful employment, but he is doing the job that she would do if she was at home. He's washing clothes, she says. He's feeding them. He's making sure that everything goes well. And that's because he's in support of her job. He's in support of her working. So what's the difference? He's not a man because he doesn't get up every day and go to work, but he stays at home and he sees to the house, he sees to the children. Now, if the shoe were on the other foot, and that was a woman that was doing that, and a man that was working, would there be any problem? That's a double standard. So if it's her requirement that this man get up and get a job, then that's what she should say. She should voice her opinion. But don't belittle the man because of activities and actions that you are allowing him to continue to conduct. Does that make sense? I hope it does. Let's keep going.
I didn't have my father always. He didn't always take care of me. I mean, I remember seeing him at times, but I guess it just depends. There are some people that I've been around and their dads, the kids' dads really involved, pick them up, do all that with them, even if the parents are not together, which is really good. I love to see that, but then there are families and friends that I have where their dad ain't doing nothing.
Haven't even met him.
So, I mean, it's kind of, I guess it seems like it's different for every family. In my life, I kind of see half of parents, both parents being there, then half where the mom's holding down and doing it on her own. So it's kind of...
Well, and then you have the case where my children's father is there, but I almost feel like I'm doing it on my own anyways.
Right.
Because I'm doing the financial, I'm doing the emotional, I'm doing all of that. So, what am I gaining? What are they gaining? That's a question that we ask quite often in my home. So, you know, it's not to say I don't love him.
So you're a single parent in a dual parent home.
I feel like it sometimes, yeah. Yes, I do sometimes.
Interesting.
I feel, and I have actually used that saying or analogy, whatever you want to say, to him. You know, what good are you doing me? It's like I'm a single mom anyways.
Yes, my kid's dad, one of them, shall I say, is very much involved. He financially takes care of her, and he's there for her, whatever she needs. My two boys, their dad takes care of them financially, but as far as being there physically, no, not at this time.
I will say yes, on a couple of different levels. My husband is definitely taking care of his daughter, which is my daughter as well, and he's taking care of my son as well. My son's father is, he is active in his life as far as taking care of him. Yes and no. He is there for his son, but as far as being there financially, I'm going to say no to that one. I mean, he just does what he can, I've always been the type of mother to encourage his dad to just be there, not necessarily, you know, give all your money or do whatever is needed. Yes, that's what he should do, but if he can't, he's not at that place where he can do that, then just be there for him. That's been my only requirement the entire time. And so I will say, to a certain extent, does his dad take care of him? Yes. But my husband definitely has stepped up to the plate and done his part, taking care of the children. And so to answer your question, yes.
So that's the end of the video. Now, as I mentioned, now we're going to dissect. So I think that it would be wise to do that now. Of all of the women that were spoken to in the video. The theme appeared to me to be how the men in their lives who they choose to have children with, or who they chose to have children with, how they're caring for the child. And it falls to two basic levels, either emotionally or financially. And you had some of the women, some of the sisters saying that men were there financially, but they weren't there emotionally. You had some that were saying that they were there emotionally, but they weren't there financially. And you had some that remember of instances growing up where they had friends where their father was neither emotionally nor financially supportive. So now we appreciate the point of view that was expressed because it really adds to the overall picture. It gives us better insight. And so having said that, let's think for a moment and let's consider something. In these particular instances, you hear only of the last few women speak of marriage and how it is that they are married to the individuals who they have procreated with, they've had children with. So I would say about this particular premise, and if you agree, okay, if you don't, then that's fine also. But as we said earlier, for those that are complaining that the father of their child is not there emotionally or financially, did you think about that before you lay down with this particular gentleman? And I pause because, see, a lot of the accountability that you hear in this particular video is shifted toward the absent father. It shifted toward him. But now, even before you decided to enter into a relationship with this gentleman, were you thoughtful? Were you looking at the situation and preparing yourself and planning so that whoever you chose would be someone that would accept responsibility and someone that would continue to care for you and the child? See, that's what marriage is about. And I know that that's a weak argument because 50% of the marriages nowadays fail, but the whole institution of marriage, that's part of what marriage was all about, to provide a stable area, a stable environment, I should say, for the children. And so when an individual decides to have children without the benefit of marriage, then basically what you're saying is that you understand that at some point in time, this whole situation is going to become unstable. Because if the individual who you're having a child with has not thought enough of you to give you his last name or to provide for you in a way that will cause stability for you and your child, then why in the world would you expect that he would provide financially and emotionally for the child? And then in some cases, maybe the individual didn't even want to have children. He didn't. So it's accountability just not for the man, but for the woman also. Did you think about these things? Because see, really before you have a child, you should have already had things in the works as far as planning is concerned. Had you looked at where you all were going to stay? Had you looked at what it was going to take financially to support this child? Had you looked at whether or not this was the path that you needed to take? See, we have to think about these things. We have to think about these things. You can't set on the path without thinking about something and then shift the results of that situation to someone else. You started on this path, you chose this path to take, and then when things become difficult, now you want to shift the blame to someone else. Now, are we pardoning the fathers? Absolutely not, because it is our responsibility to provide, to protect, and to teach. But now, what really facilitates that particular role that we take on as fathers is having a wife and children, a household, a family. really that solidifies the fact that these are individuals that you have agreed to care for. These are individuals that are your responsibility. But if this particular person is not your wife, then sometimes it can be difficult for individuals to take on that particular responsibility, because you didn't require this man to be your husband. You didn't require this man to have suitable accommodations for yourself and for your child. So now, why is there any surprise that this gentleman is not providing in the way that you want him to provide when you didn't require it in the first place? That has been my thoughts. Please like, comment, and subscribe. As always, be easy.